But that's what I've also discovered off of listening to your podcast is there's a lot of normal people that are good people that are all part of this. And so it's helped me get past the ick factor of what I thought the lifestyle might be like to being like, no, there are some great quality people, the two of you included, and Trucker, who I got to meet, really good people.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad. And Lilly,
the sunshiny,
the shocking stories of sugar dating.
I couldn't think of anything.
I know.
I should have just said
froze.
shocking.
I
know.
look over and you froze.
I'm not feeling that creative. I have a sty in my eye.
You have a sty in your eye.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Life is a little blurry.
What happened?
It's right over here in the corner. I don't know. Probably I was rubbing my eyes too much because of allergies and got something in there.
Yeah. Well, did you see that we've got some more people that have converted on our Patreon to the ultimate VIP?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, somebody did just yesterday.
What?
I'll tell you what, that thing is heating up. It's taking a life of its own.
Is it somebody that I know in real life?
No.
Oh.
I don't know who this person is.
Oh.
Yeah. Alejandra's on there now.
She is?
If you want to see a picture of Alejandra, it's on our...
It's a beautiful photo of her, too. There's lots of pictures of her, but that one actually shows her face. Her gorgeous face.
One girl commented, can she be my girlfriend?
I missed that, too. Gosh, I think I'm on there all the time. I don't know how I missed this.
Yeah, we're going to have to get caught up because the chats are going crazy. People are signing up. And we have already booked one concert for November. Now, we haven't set up any details on that yet because it's a Thursday night. It's going to have to be kind of a different structure because
and
it's
if you're a
Thursday
member
night.
of the Patreon, you know what concert that is.
Oh, that's right.
And it's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't have a choice on this one. Alejandra said, you need to book this and book it now because I love Shakira.
Yes. She's smoking.
Yeah, Shakira is...
Trucker wasn't that excited about it, but he'll go.
Oh, yeah. No, he'll be excited. It's festive.
He goes, you know it's all going to be Spanish music.
Not all of it. Hips Don't Lie.
Yeah, I know.
It's her famous English song.
You just gave it away.
Yeah.
Now they don't have to join the Patreon to find out.
Well, they need to join the Patreon so they can get an invitation.
Yeah, you actually, that's true.
Yeah. So our Patreon is hopping. Hey, you know how much it costs to join Patreon? $0. We have a free membership, and we're actually posting a few items on there for our free members.
Not much.
Yeah, but a few. I mean, a few.
I've only posted one thing for the free.
I've posted
people.
a couple things, but anyway, and we're going to actually post a little bit more, and it's a lot of teaser stuff, but you know, and then we have our VIP membership, which is $10, and then it goes up from there. We have a couple other tiers, but we are about to secure, and I keep saying this, I'm kind of waiting for prices to come down on this concert because it's so damn expensive for the suite, but we're going to get 2 suites, and we're looking at August. We got a poll there, so if you want to go there, a poll may actually be done by the time this one comes out, but you can see the results of the poll and about the party, and then maybe we'll have pulled the trigger by then. I don't know. But anyway, you definitely want to get on as a VIP member so you can get an invitation to that party because it's going to be good.
You're not very trigger happy.
Why is that?
Because you haven't pulled the trigger yet.
I know. Well, I'm trying to wheel and deal. I mean, this damn thing is expensive. I want to make it affordable for the sugar daddy sponsors, and I don't want to give them a shocking price to attend the party and sponsor this thing. So it just may be what it is. I don't know. The price of business is just going up.
It is.
Anyway,
sugaring ain't cheap.
So here's another, before we bring our guest on, this is another thing that I thought we could add to and we are going to add to our Patreon group. Now, if you're local, you're going to get some extra benefits. And I mean local here in Arizona. We had a dinner the other night, a dinner and a comedy show. And I had an extra ticket because Alejandra couldn't make it because she was up in Sedona with her quote unquote new friend from Bumble, who happens to be a girl. And we'll hear
a hot one.
Yeah, we'll hear all about that later. But I had this extra spot. She's like, who are you going to take? And I go, well, it's going to be a mystery guest. And I was going to post it on Patreon, free dinner at this really nice steakhouse that we went, and a free comedy show to one of our Patreon members. You know, it's a last minute thing, so they'd have to be local. But there's things like that come up all the time. We have guests in town, and we have an extra seat at dinner. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to start fishing those spots out to our Patreon members.
You did have a really sexy date for the dinner and the comedy show that night.
I did, and we're going to bring him on in just a second. But fortunately, there was a gentleman in town who was traveling through in his van, and he's a big fan of the show. And we're just going to bring him on, and we are calling him... No offense to the original Podcast Vanboy, but we have the Podcast Vanboy.
Yup.
All right. Welcome, PV. What is it now?
PVB.
PVB.
Oh, no, PV.
What is it?
PCVB.
Podcast. No.
I'd rather just say Vanboy.
Vanboy. Okay. Vanboy was traveling through. He's a big fan of the show. And we had a lot of fun getting to know this gentleman. And welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. Super glad to be here. And before we get started, I will put a plug out there for the Patreon account. I am at the VIP level, which, as you said, was only $10 a month. The amount of items that you get is fantastic. And like you say, the community that's developing. But the best part so far has been Miss Lilly's profile reviews. She did one for me, and she was over the top. She took my basics and gave me 3 different options, which were all very creative and very well done. And I've used all 3 of them at different times. So that's a great item that's currently out there. But if they don't sign up pretty quick, they're not going to get that from what I've understood.
We have higher tiers. So we're including it in the lower tier for a limited time. But we just got too many of them.
I did 2 yesterday.
Yeah, Lily's been going and blowing on those. They've been coming in fast and furious. And let me just put it out there. If you send us one and we didn't get back to you, you might want to remind us. It might have gotten lost in the shuffle.
Please remind us.
Yeah, because we want to get it done, but we had so many come in. I need an orderly system, to filter those to you and keep track of them.
Honestly should have them all go one place because we got them coming in on Insta. We got them coming in on the Patreon. We got them coming in on your website.
Yep.
And so they get lost in the
job.
shuffle. Thank you.
Yeah, I think she does a fantastic job. I mean, we've been around the block a couple times. I have revised my profile so many times, and I've kind of figured out some things that work, some things that don't. As I read profiles of women and girls on there, there's some big turnoffs for me, and I'm sure it is the same with you, Vanboy, that some things that you're just like, oh, not touching this one with a 10-foot pole. I'm skipping this one, going on to the next. And girls, you don't want to be skipped, because the guys that we are meeting come through, they're on our show, the sugar daddies that we meet. These are great guys. You want to meet them. So you want to make sure your profile is as attractive as possible.
Hear that, ladies? I'm a great guy.
He really is. He
right,
I'll give you a thumbnail sketch of Podcast Vanboy. So I live in the Midwest.
In a van?
In a van down by the river. I'm not 100% in the van, but I do take couple long trips a year. I've taken one up to Alaska. Last year, during the same month of February, I did the California coast, ended up in wine country for a few days. And this trip was from the Midwest down into Texas, all the way across the great state of Texas, into New Mexico, stopped in Scottsdale and got to meet the crew here. Took part of a great music concert that was going on, a festival that was going on in Mesa.
It was just down from my house. I didn't even know it was happening, but sounds like fantastic. I missed a good one.
Indeed. And then now I'm in Colorado, and luckily I travel with Starlink because where I'm currently at in the mountains, there's 0 cell reception. So I threw my little Starlink dish outside on the pavement and linked up and ready to go here. So But yeah, so I'm still working a little bit. I'm in my 60s, but my job in marketing can be done pretty much anywhere as long as I do have cell coverage or a internet link. And so I take advantage of it by getting out and being on the road and seeing different places.
I was really surprised when you said you were 63 because you look about 43.
You know, when people shave their head, it's hard to tell the age.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so
Mother Nature was doing most of the shaving.
No, I'm in your boat, my friend. But yeah, you could have told me any range within 10, 15 years of what you actually are, and I would have had no reason to dispute it. So how have you kept in such good shape? Just genetics, or do you work out? Or?
Well, I try and stay active. I do have a mountain bike on the back of the van, and I also hike a lot. But yeah, genetics are pretty good. I come from a tall, thin family. So
yeah.
So and then how did I get into sugaring? I'm jumping in here, Marcus, because I know how you guys in the background. I binge listened once I found your show, which was about a year ago when I first got on Seeking. I binge listened, so I kind of know your format here. And so divorced 8 years ago-ish and started in the vanilla dating, the Bumbles, the Tinders. And I've got a real busy lifestyle. I'm on the road. So I would tell the prospective dates, hey, I'm not going to be an everyday boyfriend. I'll be a good boyfriend, but I'm not going to be around that much. Or at least like if you're expecting dates every weekend and maybe even a Wednesday night. And they all seemed good with that going into it. But 3 to 4 months into it, then it's like, well, I'm only seeing you 3-4 times a month. I'm like, yeah, I kind of said that up front. So those just weren't working out. And then on my California trip last year, I was hanging with a buddy and his girlfriend was saying, why aren't you dating? And I said, well, because women don't want an occasional boyfriend. And then she said, well, you should try seeking arrangements. I had no idea what it was. When she explained it, my upbringing kind of went, this sounds kind of sleazy. So I was curious enough to start looking into it. And part of it did seem sleazy with some of the posts that were on there. But I found your podcast. I found the subreddit sugar lifestyle thing. And the more I read about it, or especially through your guys' podcast, I realized this isn't that much different than, quote, civilian dating. I mean, I was raised where the guy pays for things anyway. And I started to finally meet some quality people on the site. It took me a while. As you guys know, you kiss a lot of frogs or you meet a lot of flakes. But yeah, I'd say it's showing signs of promise now that I've got the Lilly profile.
Yeah. Well, men are traditionally brought up to be providers. And so seeking or sugar dating is a natural fit for us men being providers, whether it's financial, whether it's strength and dependability, whatever it may be. It's very easy for us to fall into that role as a provider. So people look at it, we've gone down this road a million times. Oh, that's just disguised prostitution. Well, I provided financial support for my wife, and as you did too.
Same, yep.
And girlfriends. What does it matter if I continue to provide financial support for the ones that I date? Yeah, and you're finding that these are real relationships, real feelings. Now, the structure may be a little bit different initially going in, but, this is still dating.
Exactly. And what I like, it helped me because I went into it way more transparent than I've been in the vanilla dating. It felt liberating to just kind of say, listen, here's what I've got to offer. I can be around, 4 times, 5 times a month. I'm really not going to be your everyday kind of guy, but I will treat you right. I'm a good guy. And if you like to travel in a van, you can travel with me in a van. But I also, travel internationally or nationally. And let's hop on a plane and go. I love live music. And so for me now, I've gotten to that point in my life. I'm not going to wait for a good band to come to the Midwest. I'm going to go wherever that band is, as long as it fits my schedule. And that can be a lot of fun with a sugar relationship as well.
That is a lot of fun. Now, you've actually got it now where you've set up different people in cities that you travel to. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, it's still kind of like in the sorting out because I don't see myself as a player. But yes, since I do travel and with the Seeking app where you can say, hey, like I even put it to Scottsdale area while I was there. And, there are a few people there that I might want to start corresponding more. I've got it in Denver because I'm there a lot. So, and then back in the Midwest. So I kind of feel like it's the early stages. I guess my longer term objective would be to find a person that I'm not playing the field. It's more of like find one that you really connect with, that the chemistry is good, and then focus on that.
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense.
But until you find your person, have all the fun.
Have all the fun, yes.
All
and
the
this
fun.
And the app is great for being able to say, hey, because I mean, how would I otherwise do that, right? You know, they talk about going seeking in the wild, right? Well, I don't know. I'm not the guy who goes and approaches a woman who's sitting at the bar, or her and her two girlfriends, right? I'm not that guy. So with this app, it's great because it exposes you to people who are open-minded and willing, and they see some pictures of you, they see a profile of you. It just takes care of a lot of that upfront work that, that I wasn't good at anyway.
Yeah. When we were talking while you were here, you actually stayed with me, and then we hung out at the restaurant and the comedy show. You would tell me about all your experiences, and I'm just shaking my head going, exactly, I understand. You and I have traveled almost down the exact same road. Now, what do girls think about your van? Are they a little bit sketched out about it?
I think there are some that they'd read that. They'd say, nope, swipe left on that guy. Yeah. I'm not going to be with a van down by the river or a guy living in his mother's basement. But there are others who love it. There's 2 right now that want to be a part of it. One has already stayed overnight in the van with me. And on the Reddit forum, there were several that said, because there were some people saying, because I did a profile review there when I first got on Seeking, and there were some women that says, take that off. That is a total red flag. But then there were some others that's like, no, leave that on there. I would love to go to the national parks with this guy. So, it's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, that's cool. What'd you think of the couple you met at dinner?
Well, I've already been texting with the guy.
Oh, have you
probably
really?
Over a half a dozen times, because he knew that I was heading towards Flagstaff, and he knew some spots where I could take the van. And so he reached out to me, and then he gave me kind of a mini tour of his large Class A RV.
Yeah, they love the RV life.
Yeah, so we had that in common. So he's showing me this total luxury vehicle that they've got, like leather lounge chairs and stuff. And then I showed a couple pictures of my van. But that's what I've also discovered off of listening to your podcast is there's a lot of normal people that are good people that are all part of this. And so it's helped me get past the ick factor of what I thought the lifestyle might be like, to being like, no, there are some great quality people, the 2 of you included, and Trucker, who I got to meet, really good people.
Everybody who meets Trucker is always so impressed, but he's just a laid back, good old boy.
He is.
He's very solid.
He's just normal, but he's really easy to talk to. Yeah. He's very down to earth. He's a great guy.
Yeah. Lilly is a lucky woman, isn't she?
Yes.
So the couple that we had dinner with we have got to name them so I can call them by name. Oh, we've got to find a name for them.
Gosh, yeah, we do.
But anyway, it's the girl that I've talked about so many times who didn't know who the Brady Bunch was, and then she ended up marrying her sugar daddy and having 2 kids. I'm tired of explaining it that way, so we got to find a name for them. But anyway, she's 29, absolute doll, gorgeous.
She is.
He's 63, same age as you. What did you think of that relationship, just on the surface?
Yeah, so I was very curious because the woman that I'm spending the most time with is 27. I did not go on to Seeking looking to be with a 20-something, but we're clicking. So I actually asked them those questions like, what do you say to your friends and family? What do you, how do you handle going out to the restaurants and stuff? And his attitude was, I don't care. He may have thrown a profanity in there too. But yeah, it was pretty much like, hey, we care about each other. We're in love. Deal with it, people. And if you can't, too bad. Right. And so that was kind of refreshing. I mean, their situation's different. They've got children now and everything. But yeah, it was just good to, again, talk to people who are doing the exact same thing, basically, that I'm doing. And it's normal. And I'm getting more and more of that attitude. Like, I think I'm going to be coming kind of out of the closet, if you will, on this relationship and start bringing her around to things where other people who know me will see it and they'll have to deal with it. It's their issue, not mine.
Now, Lilly, scenario.
Okay.
your daughter, 27,
we've had this conversation,
dating a 63-year-old.
I think it would be strange.
Yeah.
I think it would be weird. But if it was her person and that was her soulmate, I would accept it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A close friend of mine, when I told them that I was starting to date younger women, and I didn't tell them I was on Seeking, but she goes, well, how young is young? And I said, well, it's, there's some that are 40, some even upper 30s, because I didn't want to go 27. And she goes, oh my God, that's terrible. And, like she really reacted hard. She came and apologized the next day, but her thing was that kind of like where Lilly said, she goes, my daughter is 37 and you're telling me you're dating somebody my daughter's age? That just doesn't feel right. So
actually 37 is in the older range of sugar babies.
I've got a buddy who has a formula. He says half your age plus 7. So let's say if I was 62, half my age would be 31 plus 7 is 38. He goes, you can date down to 38. That's the formula.
It's funny you said that.
That's an interesting formula.
Well, I was playing poker up at my country club last night, just a little casual game, and something came up about my girlfriend, and a guy I'd never met goes, well, she has to be at least half your age plus 7. I was starting to think, wait a minute, she's not even half my age. We got a couple of years before that happens. Lily, have you heard that formula?
I have never heard that formula. I always kind of went by plus or minus 10 when I was figuring out how do I filter so that I'm getting people in my age range.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I've never heard that.
What's the youngest girl you've ever met?
26.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think on Seeking, I have the filter down to 24. And I've had some young ones reach out, but I don't know. I don't think I have a hard limit mentally. And this 27-year-old that I'm currently seeing a lot, we click on so many things that I don't feel that age thing other than as you had, Marcus, where, I'll bring up a television show or a band like AC/DC Back in Black. We had not heard that song.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
But that's part of the fun too, though, because she's turning me on to music I don't know, and I'm sharing music that she doesn't know. So,
yeah, you definitely get slapped in the face the first time when you start bringing things up in conversation. You're like, "What? You don't know?" And then you realize, I guess that makes sense. They just weren't exposed to it. Things have changed.
So, when you were in Scottsdale, we had a conversation at dinner, and you were very much looking forward to meeting a woman who was also living the nomadic lifestyle, and she had a van of her own, right?
Yes.
And you guys were meeting up in Colorado, so tell us about how that went.
So I found an awesome spot. This was actually just south of Colorado. It was north of Flagstaff. And I got there the day before, and then she joined. We clicked well, but it just wasn't feeling right in my head. And especially because I'm kind of connecting more and more with this other person. So we had a nice dinner, had a campfire and all that, but I left it at that just because in my own head, I was, again, I'm not a player. And if I'm starting to feel attachment somewhere else. So yeah, we're still communicating with each other. She's involved in some things that I have some experience with. And so I'm helping her walk down that path. So I think we're going to stay friends, just like Marcus has got a whole bevy of friends that he's met along the way, but she's not going to be the person that I connect with, with that kind of chemistry.
Did you meet her on Seeking, and how old was she?
She's 45, and yes, I did.
And so do you feel like you were kind of catfished, or did she genuinely look like her pictures? And
Oh, no. Yeah. So all of that was absolutely fine. I think it's more
feel the attraction and chemistry.
Well, the attraction even is there, but I think it's more me on the inside. Like if I'm starting to have some attraction somewhere else, it's hard for me to divide that attraction amongst multiple players.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing, probably.
That makes sense to me.
No, I get it. And like you said, I do have a lot of friends that I've met on Seeking that it went nowhere, but we're still friends. And we've connected on social media, so we kind of keep up. And actually, a lot of them have thrown business opportunities my direction or asked me advice on business. So it's not a bad thing to meet people and not have a romantic connection. Like the girl that we had dinner with. I met her, and she was absolutely 100% as advertised. And I just felt like she was somebody I would want in my life more as a mentor. I could be a great mentor to her. or
Yeah.
just a
And that's
great
kind of,
friend and bounce things off of.
and that's kind of the role I feel I can take in this situation. And yeah, Lily, I actually had dinner with her in Houston so I knew her and we had conversation back and forth. So yeah, she was as advertised. It just, yeah, something flipped a switch in my mind and I just decided, you know what, this can be a different kind of a friendship. It didn't have to be a romantic one.
Yeah. No, that happens a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So what else? You've only been on Seeking since October. Is that what you said?
So let's see. So I first heard about it last April on this trip I was in the van. I got on in May, was on it for just like a couple months and got burned several times.
How
And
so?
so,
Let's hear about that.
okay, yeah, let's hear about those. Okay, so one, I had 5 overnights with this woman, and she was very clear about, hey, she has boundaries. She's totally open to intimacy, but she's got boundaries in it. She's going to take it slow and it'll be on her terms. I'm like, okay. But in my mind, I don't know, even in civilian dating, I don't know if you guys, have this in the Southwest, but typically they say 3 to 4 dates in, you can expect some kind of decent intimacy.
We've gone
Five
down that road,
overnights.
yeah.
Okay, 5 overnights with good ppm. I had a peck on the cheek. That's it. That's the extent of it. Like if I
Wow.
tried leaning into it, she would be not comfortable. And it's just like, okay.
I'm going to
And
have to
so,
bleep out your name right there, Van Man.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Good that you're on top of that, Lily. So that was one where and I gave it like 6 ppms, right? And then finally I'm like, okay, this is not going anywhere. And she was upset. I said, the whole thing about this is it's mutual benefits, right? And I'm like, I see the benefits you're getting, but I don't see anything coming across on my side.
Yeah, it's almost like the chemistry was one-sided because you wanted more.
And she knew that, right?
Yeah.
And I was being respectful of her boundaries, but I just think, I don't know if that's there's the Splenda side on the guy side. Is there a name for it on the female side when they're
Oh, we need a name for
Yeah.
that.
I've been in that situation multiple times. I met a girl, and it's funny because I met her on Facebook dating. It's the only girl I've ever met from Facebook, and I've swiped right all the time. Just not so much anymore, but I used to just swipe all the time. And she saw me on Seeking, so the conversation turned, and I'm like, damn, this is not going to be a freebie. But we went out like 4 or 5 times, and I just couldn't get anywhere with this girl. Anything just past having a good time out at a dinner or restaurant, or we actually went to, like Dave and Buster's and played some games and stuff. And then same thing, she would give me a peck on the cheek and head home. And I'm just like, I don't need sex. It's not a factor of whether, I'm going to continue this with somebody. But after some point, a guy has his needs and he wants the relationship to move forward.
right.
And if I'm not seeing any signs and I'm just sitting there just pouring money and money and money into this dates, and it's so one-sided, yeah, I bail. I can't. Like, I just don't have time for it.
Yeah. And then Lily, another one was she wanted an amount of money for the meet and greet, and it was several $100s, right? And I said, well, that's not my understanding of how that kind of works typically. And I even told her, I said, what I do is I bring a little card and there'll be, a little gift inside of that, right? And she goes, well, I've been burned and my time is valuable. And then she switched it and she says, how about this? How about, you give me what I'm asking, and then the next couple dates after that are on the house. And I'm like, okay. But again, I was new, like today I'd be but back then I was like, oh, okay. So we did a meet and greet. I put together a nice picnic, and she was not quite as advertised, but I was still new in the whole thing. I'm like, well, let's see where this thing goes. So I gave her the card with cash that she had requested, and she goes, yeah, now let's, we'll set up another date. And we did, and it was going to be to a concert. And I got the tickets, and there was some travel involved for both of us. But she was telling me, oh, yeah, I can't wait to see that band and looking forward to seeing you. And I'd let her know I'm on the way and here's my ETA. And she goes, yep, I've already left the house, got the babysitters. And so I get there, and then I send a pin drop to where I'm parked. And she goes, I'm there in like 20 minutes. And then she's not there, and she's not. And then I'm like, are you okay? Did something happen? And radio silence. All the way through, I go to the concert. And then later that night, she sends a note saying, I had car trouble and my phone was dead, so I could only borrow a person's phone to call a tow truck. And now she goes, now I'm out the money for the sitter and I feel really bad. But, I'm like, that's a bunch of bullshit. She did not drive most of the way to this city, have car trouble, and then take a tow truck all the way back without being able to text me sometime during that time period, or that her phone was just happened to be dead. So basically, I think her whole scam was talk to some newbie who gives more money up front than necessary, and then flake on him on the quote, the free date. And
That is so shitty.
Yeah,
How much did she ask for the meet and greet?
$300, which, is not the end of the world.
Where was this?
She was from,
Where was she from?
let's say the Milwaukee area.
Oh, it's so weird because I got scammed in a very similar manner. And she said, hey, I just need this amount. And it was $300. And she said, and then the rest is on the house. And she's like, and then I don't need anything. I'm like, okay. And then she went to her car and then took off.
Lily, I'm not as upset about the $300 thing. It was more the planning the second date, buying the tickets in advance, having.
I get it, because had she just bowed out gracefully, maybe she had second thoughts.
Right.
Bow out gracefully and you could take someone else.
Exactly. Instead of telling me, I'm on my way there in 20 minutes. Yeah. And I actually had a different person do the same thing to me with no money out of my pocket. But it's like, again, the Milwaukee area. I'm like, hey, I'm leaving. Here's for the time. I get to the place, send her a note. She says, I'm there in 7 minutes. Never shows.
It's just shitty. It's inconsiderate. It's rude. Yeah. I know. I actually had a guy that I went on a couple of dates with, and he's like, what would you like to do for a really cool date? And I said, well, Mean Girls is going to be in Tucson, and I'd really like to see it. And he bought the tickets.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
Because he sent me a screenshot of the tickets, and then I don't hear from him, and I don't hear from him, and it's getting closer to the concert, and I try to reach out, and he just ghosted me.
Wow.
And I knew he had the tickets, so probably like 3 months later, he texts me, and I was like, hey, where have you been, stranger? Did you enjoy Mean Girls? He goes, I didn't even go. I'm like, well, why didn't you just offer me the tickets? Because you knew I wanted to go. So if you couldn't go, why didn't you just offer me the tickets instead of letting them go to waste? I don't know. People are so strange.
Yeah, I hear it does go on both sides of it, because I've talked to some women who have said, oh, there's so many flakes. So one thing you guys have said often on the podcast, and I highly recommend it, is do a video call beforehand. That way you'll see the person, you'll hear their voice, you'll be able to talk through and just feel like, is the person real? Two, do they check some of the boxes that you're looking for? And that to me would have probably saved me several of these, bad experiences.
Yeah. And women, seriously, if for some reason you get cold feet or you have misgivings, let the person know. Don't lead them on. I know right before we went to the big Taylor Swift concert, I did a meet and greet with an older gentleman. And right away I told him I was going to Taylor Swift. And he said, well, I'm going as well that same day with my granddaughters, but if you'd like to see it twice, I'll buy tickets the day before and you and I can go. And of course, I was very hyped up about Taylor Swift, and I said, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. And then FaceTimed him a couple more times, and I just got this weird vibe from him. And I realized this isn't going anywhere. I'm really not attracted to him. And then he didn't have any solid plans about picking me up for the concert or anything like that. And he just, seemed a little not my type. And the minute I realized I'm not going to have fun at a concert with this guy, I told him, I said, hey, I know I got really excited about going to the concert. I feel so bad that you bought tickets to take me. I feel like I don't want to waste your time or your money. Is there someone else you can take? And he said, yeah, absolutely. I'll take one of my granddaughters. So at least I let him know, and his tickets didn't go to waste, and I didn't. Oh, gosh.
Well, that's the kind thing to do. And people, just be respectful in this, whether it's this or vanilla dating, just be a decent human.
Honesty is appreciated. And even if the honesty is going to hurt someone's feelings or maybe even piss them off, you owe it to the person to just be real, genuine, I think.
Agree.
Yep. Have you ever had anybody run really, really late on you? What's your status there?
Yes.
I was just, as she was telling the story, I started thinking about some of my meet and greets where I couldn't believe that I waited as long as I
Yeah.
did for somebody. It was so disrespectful.
Yeah, the one I told you about that, we actually had 5 or 6 overnights. So on the very first meet and greet was at a nice restaurant, and we both had to drive there. And I again was going to take care of her gas and give her a little monetary thing that she didn't know about, so because I had it in a card. But I told her, "You still on time?" She goes, "Oh, absolutely." And then she says, "At most, I'll be 5 minutes late." 35 minutes later, like I pretty much had figured she had ghosted me.
Mm-hmm.
And here she comes waltzing in. But again, be respectful. Like I'm feeling kind of like an idiot because it wasn't one of those restaurants where, oh, there's a bar that you can sit down and just, not look like you're sitting there like alone or waiting for a date that's never showing up. So it would have just been respectful for her to do that. I was just about ready to walk out actually when she came walking in the door.
Yeah.
I'd say hers was the worst. But the other people have, said, "Oh, this is the time," and then they'll text me and they'll at least let me know. No, it's 15, it's 20, it's 30 minutes later.
As long as they're continuing to communicate with me, I'll wait. I waited 45 minutes for a meet and greet the other day. Well, I say the other day, 6 months ago, right before Alejandra and I went exclusive. But she was giving me these bullshit excuses about traffic, and I have access to all the traffic on my phone. I could see where she was coming from because where she told me she's coming from. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, there's an accident. Traffic is really bad." I look at there's no traffic right now. It's so stupid. But I did wait for 45 minutes. We had a good meet and greet, and she wanted to see me again. She messaged me, but I don't know. I was just so jaded after that. I just didn't want to deal with it because usually if they're already giving you bullshit excuses and they're that late,
They're probably going to be flaky.
I haven't found it to get any better.
Yeah.
No.
One other flake was she showed up at the lunch. We had lunch, and then we were going to just take a walk. And she goes, "Oh, I have to put some money in my parking meter." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll walk with you." She goes, "No, you don't have to." She goes, "Why don't we just meet over there at that park?" I'm like, "Okay." So I go walking over there thinking she's just dropping a coin or whatever in the thing. And she doesn't show up. And, I text her. Yeah. And I'm like, "All right, like you said, Lily, if you're not feeling it and at the lunch, just say, I've got a work event, or I'm sorry, I can't take a walk with you after lunch." But she does that. It's just like, and you feel stupid and you feel used, but I'm hoping that in the future I would be able to see something like that, but I don't know. I probably still wouldn't. I'm kind of
I know
a believer in human.
We're trusting individuals.
Trusting, that's the word. Yeah.
We still think people do what they say, and and they're going to hold up their end of the deal. But you find that it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell someone that you're not feeling it, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, people don't get angry. Sometimes I've had people get angry. But 9 times out of 10, they're like, "Okay, well, thank you for being honest and not wasting my time."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was waiting on this one girl. We were meeting at the Beverly, and I had waited for her for about 30 minutes, and I left. And almost an hour later, she says, "Hey, I'm at the bar. Where are you at?" Well,
did you go back?
No, fuck no.
That ship has sailed.
No, that's done. I don't. Homie, don't play that. I don't have time for that. Next.
You know what's funny though is on one of my meet and greets, I get there, the guy hasn't shown up. I'm waiting 5-10 minutes. He hasn't shown up. I text him. I'm like, "You're coming to this location, right?"
Oh yeah, I remember this.
No, this is a different one.
Oh,
you're not going to.
I don't.
No, it wasn't the Hula's one. That was my bad. And he doesn't show up, and he doesn't show up. And finally, I'm like, "Well, fuck it. I'm going shopping." So that is right by a shopping center. So I'm shopping, and I get a message, and he's like, "Oh my God, did we say noon? I thought we said 1 o'clock. I'm actually here now. Where are you?" And I said, "Well, lucky for you. I'm just across at the shopping mall, and I can come back because I actually have time." But yeah, that was a screw up. But you know who it ended up being?
Who's that?
My retired ER doctor.
Oh.
And I dated him for quite some time, but it was a legitimate mistake on his part. He wrote down the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
He did show up, and then we did end up hanging out for probably 5-6 months.
Yeah.
off and on. Yeah. So
I don't know if you remember this story, Vanboy, but I I had this. Oh man! So I was fairly new, and this really hot Latina girl I was chatting with, we decided to meet for a sushi, which that was another mistake. I don't do dinners for a meet and greet any longer. So I'm there, and she's messaging me the whole time. Hey, I'm on my way. I'm pulling in the parking lot. And it's getting later and later, and about 30 minutes past due. And then she said, hey, I'm parking. Where you at? And I'm like, I'm still standing in front of the restaurant waiting for you. And then she never showed up. And then like a month or two later, a couple months later, I think it was, she messaged me, is like, I am so sorry. I had an emergency come up. I got frazzled, and it was somebody went to the hospital. I had to leave really quick, blah, blah, blah. Gave this pretty decent excuse. Can we do it again? She says, sure, same place, same time, Thursday. Okay, great. I'll see you there Thursday. 7 o'clock, she doesn't show up. Hey, I'm on my way. I'm in finally like 7:30. I'm in the parking lot. I'm very, very sorry. I'm not normally like this. Never shows up.
okay, was this communication all via texting?
Yes, it was all through text.
Oh,
yeah.
so you had never even heard a voice? It was
No,
probably some.
I was still very new, as like within my first 6 months of being on Seeking.
Some kids being
Somebody
funny.
fucking with me big time. And I fell for it twice because the girl was so hot in the pictures that I was like, I hope to God this girl shows up.
Oh, goodness.
And
You were
thinking-
using your rational head.
Thinking
on
with
that.
the little head.
Well, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So what's your preference? Do you have a preference in a look on a girl?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's your vibe?
Well, I'm on the tall side of life and the thin side of life, and that's kind of how I like my ladies too.
Tall and thin?
Tall and thin.
How
yeah.
tall are you? You are
6'6".
6'6". I knew you were up there.
Now, we do have a picture of him. Now, his face is blurred, but it's on Patreon. Have you seen that one?
I did. Yeah, I
it's
did.
where we were at the comedy show.
Well,
Yeah.
I was Marcus's date.
Yeah, you were my date. Yeah, a little tall for me, but, we made it work. You know what this motherfucker did? Sorry.
Wow.
He gave me a gummy before the show. I didn't even tell you that.
Oh,
I
God.
didn't force it on you.
He's like, he has these gummies open, and we're about to get out of the car to go to the show, and he's like, here, you want one? I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Okay. I take one. So about halfway, I'm sitting there, about halfway through the show, it hits me, and I'm like, I really shouldn't have done this.
Oh my God.
I had no idea.
You're driving. I'm not driving. And I did a half because like for
Yeah.
me, 5 milligrams is fine, but I don't know, everybody's tolerance. And
So no, we're
I said, yeah,
driving
they're-
home. I'm driving fine. The problem is I'm a little disoriented. Like my direction is where I couldn't have told you right then whether we were going north, south, east, or west. And
Oh my
usually
God.
I'm very sharp at that.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And I got home and I laid down and my head spinning. And I had a really hard time getting up the next morning.
Yeah, because you drank water at the comedy thing. You weren't.
Yeah,
you
no,
were
I
fine,
just
but-
drank water. Yeah. You didn't know that, Lily.
I had no idea you guys were high.
The comedian was very funny. I'll give him that.
He was. So we went and saw Steve Trevino. What'd you think of him, Lily?
I thought he was hilarious.
He was as advertised, huh?
Also, the guy before him was hilarious.
Yeah.
What was that guy's name?
Carlos Sanchez or something
Yeah,
like that?
he was a Mexican guy. He was third generation. He made it clear. He was on the short side. He was 5'5", right?
Yes.
And his
Oh my God.
his visualization of him having sex with a taller woman, I'm telling you, I was about to fall out of my chair laughing so
It
hard.
was so funny. Both of those guys were hilarious.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. So that's
And
the kind
thank
of
you
fun
for
things
dinner, Podcast Vanboy.
Well, it was to celebrate both of your belated birthdays. And when Lily did 3 stellar reviews, not just 1 stellar profile review, 3. I said that time, I said, when I come to town, if you guys have availability, I'd love to treat you for that. So yeah.
See,
Okay.
now I wasn't fighting over the check because he'd already told me he was going to pick up my dinner. But have you ever seen 3 guys fight so
Oh,
hard for a
God.
check?
I had 3 alpha males fighting over paying for that dinner.
Yeah.
Trucker's always picking up the tab.
Yeah.
And then
We got
Mr.
We got to come up with a name for that guy.
We're going to call him Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Okay.
Mr. Smith was adamant he was going to grab
Oh, I know,
the
I know.
check. And
they
Podcast
almost wore me
Vanboy
down, but
was
I was
quick.
like, yeah.
He's quick on his feet. He grabbed that and took care of it.
But yeah, especially Trucker leaned over. He goes, thank you for that. But he goes, because that's normally what I do.
I know.
Like,
And
Yeah.
don't you just love that about this type of dating? Is
Yes.
the men play their role. They pick up the check. They're never, you're not going halvesies with anybody.
that's one of the things I'll ask the younger. I don't like calling them babies, but the women in the sugar bowl.
Yeah.
I said, why are you wanting to be with a guy who's in his 60s? You're in your late 20s or you're in your early 30s. And they're like, I'm sick of being with guys who are closer to my age. They don't know how to respect a woman. They're pretty much after only one thing and not prepared to pleasantly get there. It's just the bull rush, and they're cheap.
Yep,
if they go out, they're going to, Red Lobster, and they want to split the check.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm done with that. And if the guy is intelligent, quasi good looking, fun, and also then brings life experiences and a wallet to the table, well, yeah.
Well, I had an
Which would you
experience on Sunday before we went to the show. I actually met an old sugar baby for lunch while Alejandra was out of town.
Da, 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 da.
Oh, so bad, huh? But I told her about it. I told her. And this was a girl, her name's Danielle. And I'd met her right when I first got on Seeking. She'd only met two guys, me and one other guy. And we're still in communication. But I had loaned her, quote unquote, $600 or something way back when, because she was going to buy something for a business. And anyway, she never paid me back. Lost communication with her for 2 years. So she messages me out of the blue. She friends me on Facebook and says, hey, I want to pay you back. I've completely changed my life. You've been a big influence, and I've done this, this, and this, and I am not even the same person you knew way back then, and I want to pay you back.
That's cool.
What would you do in that situation? I'd already written off the money. I don't care about the money. What would you do, Vanboy?
I would have complimented her for starters and said, congratulations on getting your life together. And you know what? That $600, that's in the past. Unless she really insisted that it was maybe weighing on her, that, that she, then I'd, begrudgingly accept it. But yeah, I think I would have just said, no, you do not have to do that. Think of it as an investment in her getting to the good place that she's at now.
Yeah, I was kind of at that point. I was like, look, I've forgotten about that money. I don't have any ill will to you. This means more than anything that you are insistent here 2 years later on paying that money back. But you have 3 kids. You're a single mom. You just had a birthday. Go treat yourself on me to something nice. I cannot take your money. So you know what she did? We were at Postino's, and we had a nice little dinner and drinks and stuff. And I go to pay the bill. It was already paid.
That's cute. I love
very
that
classy
story.
move on her part.
She
Nice.
paid
That is
the
a great
bill.
story.
She even showed me her bank account. She goes, look, I got money in my account. And she told me I'm going to be on time to our lunch, because she was never on time ever. And sure enough,
That's funny.
she showed up right on time. Isn't it really nice to know that people can improve their lives? And
So there's still hope for Kimmy? Is that what you're saying?
yeah. But you can
Well,
be an
and
influence on somebody, and you never even know what effect you had on that person for the rest of their life.
That is awesome. And Lilly, to that extent on Kimmy, so I'd listened to the birthday show where the surprise Kimmy came on there, and I told this to Marcus. I'm like, she sounds so much more together than the early Kimmys from the early podcast.
Oh, yeah.
She's completely different now.
Yeah. She's really transformed in a lot of ways. And she's still
That's great.
so young, and she has plenty of time to keep on blooming and developing, but I'm very proud of her.
Well, she's your daughter.
Yes.
she's your podcast daughter.
I'm proud of my girl.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything you want to leave us with? We're coming to that time of the show.
I just say, if people are hesitant about this lifestyle, if you want to call it a lifestyle, just know that there are a lot of good people in it. It's just a different way of going about finding a person or persons. And as long as you're both respectful and transparent with what your desires are, there's going to be some frogs in there. But at the end of the day, I've already found someone, and both of you have found someone, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith found people. it's a great, I don't know, I'm an advocate for it. We'll see. I hope it does get more normalized in society in the future. Probably won't happen in my lifetime, but
Well, speaking of that, I haven't told
you're
you guys, but I had an hour-long conversation yesterday. Another production company who, it's really funny how they got to me is they want to do this documentary on this murder. A girl murdered her sugar daddy.
Nanette Johnston.
Yeah. And
she murdered her sugar daddy.
yeah, and this one's
Ooh,
called,
now I'm nervous.
No, she had her other boyfriend
yeah. Well,
murder her sugar daddy.
I think it came back to
Allegedly.
Yeah, I think it actually came back to where she did it, but anyway, she was in charge of it all. I didn't read the whole thing, but it's been covered quite a few times. He says, but then as I'm doing research for this documentary, this special that we're thinking about producing about this story, I thought there's got to be more to this. There's got to be more to this sugar dating, sugar daddy lifestyle. And he says, and there where I came across your podcast and things got really interesting for me. And they produce some very well-known documentaries and shows on TV that you would definitely know. One of them is one of my favorites. Let's just say it's about a pawn shop
in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas. But anyway, we're just in the initial talkings. So now we're kind of in initial talkings with a group that's doing something potentially for HBO, and then this group who might want to do something for their channel. So that being said, hopefully we are making a dent on normalizing this and taking the stigma off of sugar dating, because this is so much deeper than people realize. These connections and this that people are making, and the quality of people. I mean, look at Lilly and all the people that she is surrounding herself with and that you've met just in the short time that you were here.
The only thing that's awkward for me, because I love 99% of the people that we've met together in the sugar world. There's that 1%. I'm not going to name names.
Scorpio.
But the hardest part for me is who?
Scorpio.
Oh, yeah, Scorpio. Yeah, that's maybe there's 2% because I can think of another one. Anyway, the awkward thing is when somebody says, well, how do you know all these people?
I know.
How do you know all these people from Chicago? How do you know this older gentleman married to this really young woman with the 2 cute kids? I always just say, oh, they're friends of Marcus's. He's my boss and he's got a lot of associates. I don't know. He knows them from golf or poker or real estate or something.
Mm-hmm. So
Well,
Alejandra,
that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Alejandra had the same questions being bombarded to her from her mother. Tell me about this party. Why did all these people fly in from all these different places? What is really going on?
Yeah. That part's a little tricky for me.
Well, she finally leveled with her mom.
Yeah.
Which is good. And her mom was very accepting of it. And her mom was like, if I ever get divorced, how do I sign up for this program? Right? So, all right.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us in your van.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks, Lilly. Thanks again for the profile review. And Marcus for letting me stay at your place. Marcus knows how to put together a great place for guests from out of town to stay.
Yeah.
I was chilling in that pool by myself in that 97-degree heat. It was wonderful.
Yeah. No, it was great. Love meeting our fans, and you're always welcome. Our doors are open.
Yeah. Next time you're in
yeah.
town, we'll invite Desiree and we'll all go to dinner or something.
that would be
Oh,
great.
I would love to meet her. She sounded fascinating.
Yeah.
We've got so many comments about that episode, more than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to thank Desiree for coming on the show.
If you want to share my details, Lilly, feel free.
Okay.
And you know what?
That's a whole nother Patreon level.
She's tall
Marcus.
too. She's
Yeah.
tall and fit. I mean,
They
she's
said you have matchmaking.
She's beautiful.
she's right down his alley.
So you're on the Patreon. We have a picture of her. Did you see it?
I thought I did. And actually, this morning I was flipping through, but then I stared at Alejandra for a while.
course. Our faces are blurred, but you
Yeah.
can definitely see her physique. She's gorgeous.
Okay, yeah, I'll go back and look.
Okay. Well, we've got to run. If you guys want to share your crazy sugar dating stories, go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube, same name. And Again, we'd always love another member of the family to join us at Patreon. I promise you'll have a really good time there. You're going to get your money's worth, and you're just supporting the show, for one thing. I mean, that's worth it right there. But, boy, we give a lot for that. So you'll enjoy it. And, hey, if you don't, we'll give you your money back. Right?
Random question.
Yeah.
How do you say sugar in Spanish?
Azúcar.
Vaya con azúcar.
There you go. Okay. Vanboy, Lily.
Podcast Vanboy.
Yeah. We'll talk to you guys
Vanboy
soon.
Signing out.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.